But I just wanted to make a few opening remarks, if I may this morning.
No one saw it coming, but when the royal DNA report hit the palace, everything changed in an instant. Gasps echoed through gilded halls as Kate's face turned pale, the truth she never expected now staring back in black and white. Secrets buried for years erupted to the surface, threatening to rewrite royal history forever.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding.
What those tests revealed has everyone talking, and the royal family may never recover from this.
So no, I haven't asked my father to intervene. The whole point of a risk management board, what I know throughout this legal process is the interference that was created came from the royal household.
The rules governing royal titles in Britain date back more than a century, established during one of the most turbulent periods in modern history. In 1917, as Europe was engulfed in the First World War, and anti-German sentiment was running high across Britain, King George V made a series of dramatic decisions that would reshape the British royal family for generations to come. The king was facing mounting pressure to distance the monarchy from its German connections, with critics in Parliament and the press questioning the loyalty of a royal house that bore Germanic names and maintained close ties to German cousins. On July 17, 1917, King George V issued a royal proclamation that changed the name of the British royal family from the House of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha to the House of Windsor, abandoning centuries of Germanic heritage in favor of a distinctly English identity. But the king did not stop there. Just months later, on November 30th, 1917, he issued what became known as the Letters Patent, a formal legal document that fundamentally restructured who could claim royal titles in Britain. The 1917 Letters Patent established precise and restrictive rules about royal titles and styles. According to these regulations, only 3 categories of people could be granted the style of Royal Highness and the titles of Prince or Princess. First, all children of the reigning monarch were automatically entitled to these honors. Second, the children of the sons of any monarch could claim royal status. But notably, this privilege did not extend to the children of daughters, reflecting the male-focused succession laws of the time. Third, the eldest living son of the eldest son of the Prince of Wales could also be styled as a Royal Highness, a provision designed to ensure the direct heir's eldest child maintained royal status, even before becoming a grandchild of the monarch. These rules were not merely ceremonial distinctions, but carried significant practical implications. Royal titles came with certain expectations, protocols, and, in some cases, security considerations. The Letters Patent also included provisions that effectively stripped many distant relatives of their British royal titles, consolidating royal status within a much smaller circle of direct family members. For King George V, these restrictions served multiple purposes. They simplified the royal hierarchy during a time of national crisis, reduced the monarchy's German connections, and created a more manageable and clearly defined royal family structure. The Letters Patent represented a modernizing force, moving away from the complex web of continental royal relationships that had characterized the Victorian era toward a more streamlined British institution. The effectiveness of George V's 1917 Letters Patent can be seen in how they have governed royal titles for over a century. Every subsequent generation has operated within this framework, from the children of George V himself through to the current generation of royals. The rules determined that Princess Elizabeth's children would be princes and princesses because she became the reigning monarch, while Princess Anne's children, Peter and Zara Phillips, received no royal titles because their father was not a son of the monarch. When Prince William married Catherine Middleton in 2011, their future children's status was already clear under the 1917 rules. As the son of the Prince of Wales, William's children would automatically be entitled to royal titles once born. However, A potential complication arose because the letter's patent specifically mentioned the eldest son of the Prince of Wales, which would have meant that only Prince George, as William's firstborn son, would have been guaranteed royal status, while his younger siblings might not have qualified. To address this issue, Queen Elizabeth II issued new letters patent on December 31, 2012, specifically amending the 1917 rules to ensure that all children of the eldest son of the Prince of Wales would receive royal titles and styles, not just the eldest male child. This change meant that Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis would have the same royal status as their older brother Prince George. The situation with Prince Harry's children was more complex because Harry was not the eldest son of the Prince of Wales. Under the strict interpretation of the 1917 letters patent, Archie and Lilibet were great-grandchildren of Queen Elizabeth II, not grandchildren, which placed them outside the automatic entitlement to royal titles. The rules stated that grandchildren in the male line could be princes and princesses, but great-grandchildren generally could not, with the specific exception of the eldest son of the Prince of Wales. When Archie was born in May 2019, royal watchers noted that he was given the surname Mountbatten-Windsor, rather than using one of his father's subsidiary titles, such as Earl of Dumbarton, which would have been traditional for the son of a duke. This decision by Harry and Meghan was seen as their personal choice, though it also highlighted the complex question of what Archie's official status would be in the years to come. The legal situation changed dramatically in September 2022, when Queen Elizabeth II died and Prince Charles ascended to the throne as King Charles III. At that moment, under the 1917 letters patent, Archie and Lilibet technically became grandchildren of the reigning monarch, rather than great-grandchildren, which should have automatically entitled them to the styles of His Royal Highness Prince Archie and Her Royal Highness Princess Lilibet. However, for several months after King Charles's accession, the royal family's official website continued to list the Sussex children as Master Archie Mountbatten-Windsor and Miss Lilibet Mountbatten-Windsor, leading to widespread speculation about whether the new king intended to honor the traditional rules or implement changes to limit the number of working royals with official titles. The uncertainty was resolved in March 2023, when the Duke and Duchess of Sussex announced that their daughter had been christened by the Archbishop of Los Angeles, referring to her for the first time as Princess Lilibet Diana. A spokesperson for the Sussexes stated that the children's titles had been their birthright since their grandfather became monarch, and that the matter had been settled for some time in alignment with Buckingham Palace. Following this announcement, the royal family's official website was updated to reflect the children's new status, listing them as Prince Archie of Sussex and Princess Lilibet of Sussex. The change represented the formal recognition of what had been their legal entitlement under the century-old rules established by King George V. The resolution of Archie and Lilibet's title status demonstrated both the enduring power of the 1917 letters patent and the complex interplay between legal entitlement and practical royal protocol. While the rules clearly established their right to princely titles upon their grandfather's accession to the throne, the several-month delay in official recognition highlighted the careful consideration that surrounds such decisions in the modern monarchy. This situation also illustrated how the 1917 letters patent continued to shape royal protocol more than a century after their creation. King George V's wartime decision to restrict and clarify royal titles established a framework that has proven remarkably durable, surviving 2 world wars, the decolonization of the British Empire, and dramatic social changes, while continuing to govern questions of royal status and protocol in the 21st century. Based on my research, I can now write part 2 of the script with accurate factual information. Here's the script for part 2. The first signs of tension around the Sussex children's royal status emerged not with grand public statements or official announcements, but with seemingly minor administrative details that would later take on much greater significance. When Prince Archie Harrison Mountbatten-Windsor was born on May 6, 2019, his arrival was celebrated with all the joy expected for a new royal baby. However, within weeks of his birth registration, an unusual sequence of events unfolded that would spark years of speculation about the family's relationship with royal protocol. On May 17, 2019, 11 days after Archie's birth, his birth certificate was officially registered with the General Register Office. The document initially listed his mother as Rachel Meghan, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex, using Meghan's full legal name alongside her royal title. His father was recorded as His Royal Highness Henry Charles Albert David Duke of Sussex. These entries followed standard practice for royal birth certificates, combining personal names with official titles to create a complete record. However, on June 5, 2019, nearly a month after the initial registration, amendments were made to Archie's birth certificate that were remarkable in their rarity. Meghan's entry was changed from Rachel Meghan, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex to simply Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex, completely removing her first and middle names from the official document. Simultaneously, Harry's entry was modified to include the word Prince in his title, changing to His Royal Highness Prince Henry Charles Albert David Duke of Sussex. The discovery of these changes, which did not become public knowledge until 2021, immediately sparked controversy and speculation about who had requested the alterations and why. Birth certificates are considered permanent legal documents, and changes to them are extraordinarily rare, particularly for members of the royal family, where every detail is typically carefully considered before initial registration. When news of the birth certificate amendments emerged, initial reports suggested that Meghan herself had requested the changes, possibly as a way to align herself more closely with royal tradition, or to distance herself from her pre-royal identity. Some royal commentators speculated that the alteration could be seen as a deliberate departure from the approach taken by the Prince and Princess of Wales, who had included Catherine's full name on all three of their children's birth certificates. Royal expert Ingrid Seward commented on the unprecedented nature of the change, noting that for a royal to alter a birth certificate was remarkable, particularly the removal of personal names. The timing of the amendment, coming during a period when reports of tensions between the two royal brothers were increasing, led some observers to interpret the change as potentially significant in the context of the broader family dynamics. However, in January 2021, when the story gained widespread media attention, a spokesperson for the Duchess of Sussex issued a strong denial of these characterizations. The spokesperson stated unequivocally that the change of name on the public document had been dictated by the palace, as confirmed by documents from senior palace officials. The statement emphasized that this was not requested by either Meghan or Prince Harry, directly contradicting the initial narrative that had emerged. The spokesperson's statement was notably forceful in its language, describing the media coverage as creating clickbait and calling the suggestion that Meghan would want to be nameless on her child's birth certificate laughable were it not offensive. This represented one of the clearest instances of the Sussexes directly challenging the royal establishment's version of events and demonstrated their willingness to publicly dispute what they saw as mischaracterizations of their actions. The birth certificate controversy highlighted the complex dynamics surrounding royal protocol and personal choice that would characterize much of the Sussex family's relationship with the institution. Whether the changes were made at palace direction, as the Sussexes claimed, or for other reasons, the incident demonstrated how even seemingly administrative decisions could become loaded with significance in the context of royal family relationships. The pattern that emerged with Archie's birth certificate would prove to be a precursor to even more significant differences in approach when the Sussexes' second child was born. On June 4, 2021, Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor was born at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital in California, marking the first time in modern royal history that a senior royal child was born outside the United Kingdom or Commonwealth realms. The announcement of Lilibet's birth came not through the traditional channels of Buckingham Palace or the court circular, but through a statement issued by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex via their Archewell Foundation website. The announcement, made 2 days after the birth on June 6, 2021, represented a complete departure from centuries of royal protocol surrounding the announcement of royal births. Traditionally, royal births were announced through official palace statements, often accompanied by formal protocols such as the posting of notices at Buckingham Palace, gun salutes, and carefully coordinated media coverage. The births of Prince William and Catherine's children, for example, were announced through formal palace statements with specific details about the attending physicians, the weight and time of birth, and official expressions of royal delight. By contrast, Lilibet's birth announcement came through a personal statement from her parents, published on their own platform rather than through official royal channels. The statement read, "It is with great joy that Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, welcome their daughter, Lilibet Lily Diana Mountbatten Windsor, to the world. Lily was born on Friday, June 4th at 11:40 a.m. in the trusted care of the doctors and staff at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital in Santa Barbara, CA." The choice of Lilibet's first name immediately became a subject of intense scrutiny and controversy. The baby was named after Queen Elizabeth II's childhood nickname, Lilibet, which had been used only by the Queen's closest family members throughout her life. The name held deep personal significance within the royal family, as it originated from the young Elizabeth's attempts to pronounce her own name and had been used affectionately by her parents, grandparents, and later by her husband, Prince Philip. The decision to use this intensely personal family nickname for their daughter put Harry and Meghan at the center of a dispute about whether they had sought and received the Queen's permission to use the name. Initially, the Sussexes stated that Harry had spoken with his grandmother about the name choice and that she had been supportive. However, reports later emerged suggesting that the Queen had not given explicit permission for the use of her private nickname, leading to tensions within the family. When news outlets, including the BBC, reported that palace sources claimed the Queen had never been asked about the name choice, the Sussexes responded forcefully. They maintained that Harry had called his grandmother first among family members to share the news and discuss their intention to name their daughter Lilibet in her honor. This public back and forth represented an unusual airing of internal family disagreements and highlighted the growing distance between the Sussexes and the royal establishment. The circumstances surrounding Lilibet's birth announcement also demonstrated the practical implications of the Sussexes' decision to step back from royal duties. Unlike with royal births that occur within the traditional framework, there was no automatic palace involvement in announcing or celebrating Lilibet's arrival. Buckingham Palace did issue a statement hours after the Sussex announcement, saying that the Queen, the Prince of Wales, and the Duchess of Cornwall and the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge are delighted with the news. But this came as a response to the Sussex announcement, rather than as part of a coordinated royal birth protocol. The contrast with traditional royal birth procedures was stark. When the palace eventually updated the official line of succession to include Lilibet, it took nearly 2 months after her birth, a delay that was unprecedented for a child so close to the throne. This extended timeline raised questions about the administrative processes involved and potentially reflected the unique circumstances of having a royal child born outside the traditional royal framework. Lilibet's birth certificate, when it became public, revealed further departures from royal convention. Unlike Archie's certificate, which had been subject to the controversial amendments, Lilibet's certificate used Meghan's full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle, without any royal titles, while Harry was listed as the Duke of Sussex, with His Royal Highness as his surname. This represented yet another variation in how the Sussex family approached official documentation, suggesting an evolving relationship with royal protocol and titles. The choice to give birth in California also meant that Lilibet became the first senior royal in modern times to be born in the United States, automatically granting her American citizenship, alongside her British citizenship through her father. This dual nationality added another layer of complexity to her position within the royal family and highlighted the transnational nature of the Sussex family's post-royal life. The differences in how Archie's and Lilibet's births were handled, documented, and announced reflected the evolving relationship between the Sussex family and the royal institution. From the birth certificate amendments that sparked controversy to the California birth that bypassed traditional royal protocols entirely, these early experiences established patterns of tension and miscommunication that would continue to characterize the family's interactions with royal protocol and media coverage in the years that followed. These incidents also demonstrated how seemingly routine administrative and ceremonial processes could become flashpoints for broader questions about royal tradition, personal autonomy, and the balance between public and private life for members of the royal family. The birth documentation controversies served as early indicators of the challenges that would emerge as the Sussex family sought to maintain their royal connections while living independently from the traditional royal framework. Based on my research, I can now write part 3 of the script with accurate, factual information about the christening and the subsequent developments. The resolution of the title question came in March 2023, not through formal palace announcements or ceremonial traditions, but through a carefully worded statement about a private family celebration that would fundamentally change how the Sussex children were publicly recognized. On March 8, 2023, a spokesperson for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex issued a brief but significant statement to multiple media outlets that would mark a turning point in the ongoing questions about Archie and Lilibet's royal status. The statement was precise and deliberate in its language. I can confirm that Princess Lilibet Diana was christened on Friday, March 3rd by the Archbishop of Los Angeles, the Rev. John Taylor. This seemingly routine announcement of a family christening contained within it the first public use of the title princess for the Sussex's daughter, effectively confirming that both children would now be using the royal titles they had been entitled to since their grandfather became king. The christening itself had taken place at the Sussex family's home in Montecito, California, in a private ceremony that represented a complete departure from traditional royal christening protocols. Rather than being held at Windsor Castle's private chapel or one of the Church of England's historic venues, Lilibet's baptism was conducted by Bishop John Harvey Taylor of the Episcopal Diocese of Los Angeles, part of the worldwide Anglican Communion, but distinctly American in its character and governance. The choice of officiant was particularly noteworthy, as Bishop Taylor brought an unusual background to the ceremony. Before his ordination, he had worked as a newspaper reporter and served as chief of staff to former President Richard Nixon, later becoming director of the Richard Nixon Library. His selection represented the Sussex's integration into American religious and social circles, rather than reliance on traditional British ecclesiastical connections. According to reports, the ceremony was intimate, with approximately 20 to 30 guests in attendance. The guest list reflected the Sussex family's new California-based social network and their maintained connections to certain family members. Meghan's mother, Doria Ragland, was present, as was Tyler Perry, who served as Lilibet's godfather. Perry, the prominent American filmmaker and actor, had become close to the Sussex family after offering them accommodation in his Los Angeles mansion during their initial move to the United States in 2020. The presence of Diana, Princess of Wales's sisters, Lady Jane Fellows, and Lady Sarah McCorquodale added a significant family dimension to the celebration. Their attendance demonstrated that while relations with the paternal side of Harry's family remained strained, connections to his mother's family had been maintained and valued. These relationships had been important to Harry throughout his life, particularly following his mother's death in 1997. Notably absent from the ceremony were King Charles III, Queen Camilla, Prince William, and Catherine, Princess of Wales. According to sources close to the Sussex family, invitations had been extended to the senior royals, but they chose not to make the journey to California. This absence was interpreted by many observers as indicative of the continued distance between the Sussex family and the core of the royal institution. Despite the resolution of the title question, the decision to christen Lilibet in the United States, rather than in the United Kingdom, represented a historic departure from royal tradition. Every senior royal child in modern memory had been christened within the British Isles, typically in venues with deep historical significance to the monarchy. By contrast, Lilibet's christening reflected her parents' new American life and their integration into American religious and social institutions. The Episcopal Church setting also carried constitutional implications, though they were largely symbolic rather than practical. While the Episcopal Church is part of the Anglican Communion and shares theological foundations with the Church of England, it operates independently and has no formal connection to the British Crown. This independence reflected the Sussex family's own journey away from direct royal institutional control, while maintaining connections to Anglican tradition. Following the ceremony, reports suggested that guests enjoyed an afternoon celebration with food and dancing, creating a relaxed family atmosphere that contrasted sharply with the formal protocols that typically surround royal christenings. Prince Archie was reportedly seen dancing with his younger sister, providing a touching image of sibling bonding during this significant family milestone. The timing of the public announcement about Lilibet's christening and title was strategically significant. It came just weeks before King Charles III's coronation in May 2023, a period when questions about royal family unity and the participation of the Sussex family in the historic ceremony were dominating media coverage. By confirming their children's royal status during this period, the Sussexes demonstrated that they intended to maintain their connection to royal tradition even while living independently from the institution. The formal recognition of the children's titles had broader implications for the Sussex family's public identity and commercial endeavors. Since stepping back from royal duties in 2020, both Harry and Meghan had built their post-royal careers around their continued connection to the royal family, while establishing independence from its constraints. The confirmation of their children's royal status strengthened this narrative and reinforced their position as members of the royal family, living according to their own terms. For Meghan in particular, the royal connection had become integral to her post-royal commercial identity. In March 2024, she had launched a lifestyle brand initially called American Riviera Orchard, which would later be renamed As Ever in February 2025. The brand, which focused on home goods, food products, and lifestyle content, drew heavily on her image as a former senior royal and mother to royal children. The artisanal jams, table linens, and home accessories she planned to market carried an implicit connection to royal taste and sophistication. The success of her brand depended significantly on maintaining public interest in her royal connections, while establishing her as an independent lifestyle authority. Product samples sent to celebrity friends like Chrissy Teigen, Tracy Ellis Ross, and Kris Jenner generated substantial social media attention, with recipients posting enthusiastically about receiving items from M and using hashtags that referenced both the brand and Meghan's royal status. The brand represented Meghan's attempt to translate her royal experience into American commercial success, positioning herself alongside lifestyle authorities like Martha Stewart, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Joanna Gaines. However, this positioning relied heavily on her unique combination of Hollywood celebrity and royal pedigree, making the formal recognition of her children's royal status crucial to maintaining the brand's distinctive appeal. The lifestyle brand also reflected Meghan's return to her pre-royal interests and expertise. Before marrying Prince Harry, she had operated a successful lifestyle blog called The Tig from 2014 to 2017, which featured recipes, travel recommendations, and lifestyle advice. The new venture represented a more commercial evolution of those interests, backed by her enhanced profile and the resources gained through her royal marriage and subsequent entertainment industry deals. For Harry, the confirmation of his children's titles carried different but equally significant personal stakes. As someone who had grown up as a spare to the heir, Harry understood both the benefits and burdens of royal status. His own relationship with royal duty and protocol had been complicated throughout his life, marked by periods of rebellion against royal constraints and deep commitment to royal service, particularly through his military career and charitable work. The question of his children's royal status touched on fundamental issues of identity and belonging that had shaped Harry's own life experience. Having made the difficult decision to step away from royal duties to protect his family and pursue independence, he faced the challenge of maintaining his children's connection to their royal heritage while living outside the traditional royal framework. Sources close to the Sussex family suggested that Harry had engaged in emotional conversations with his father and brother about his children's future status, hoping to secure their place in royal history, regardless of his own decision to step back from duties. These discussions were reportedly difficult, reflecting the ongoing tensions within the family, while demonstrating Harry's deep commitment to ensuring his children retained their birthright. The resolution of the title question through the Lilibet christening announcement effectively ended months of speculation and uncertainty that had followed King Charles III's accession to the throne. It established a precedent for how the Sussex children would be recognized going forward and clarified their position within the royal family structure, despite their parents' independent status. However, the manner of the announcement also highlighted the new dynamics governing the Sussex family's relationship with royal protocol. Rather than coordinating with Buckingham Palace for a joint announcement, the Sussexes chose to reveal their children's titles through their own channels and timing, demonstrating their independence while confirming their continued royal connections. This approach reflected the broader evolution of the Sussex family's relationship with the monarchy, characterized by maintained formal connections alongside practical independence. It suggested a model for royal family membership that allowed for geographic and institutional distance while preserving essential elements of royal identity and status. The christening and title confirmation marked a significant milestone in the ongoing negotiation between the Sussex family and the royal institution, establishing parameters for their children's royal identity, while confirming the family's commitment to charting their own course within the broader royal framework. The resolution of Archie and Lilibet's royal titles in March 2023 marked not an ending, but the beginning of a new chapter in the complex relationship between the Sussex family and the British monarchy. While the children now officially hold the titles of Prince Archie of Sussex and Princess Lilibet of Sussex, their future within the royal framework remains far from certain, shaped by evolving family dynamics, institutional priorities, and the long-term vision of the monarchy under future leadership. King Charles III's approach to his Sussex grandchildren has been characterized by what royal observers describe as a careful balance between institutional necessity and personal longing. When the king makes public references to his grandchildren, royal experts note that the public automatically assumes he is speaking about Prince William and Catherine's children, rather than Archie and Lilibet. This subtle but significant distinction reflects the practical reality that the Sussex children live thousands of miles away in California and have minimal connection to royal life in Britain. Sources close to the king suggest he is desperate to develop a meaningful relationship with Archie and Lilibet, having met Archie only a handful of times and Lilibet on just one occasion. Royal author Ingrid Seward notes that the king does not want a FaceTime relationship with his son's children, but rather wants to know them and be involved with their lives while they are still young enough to be able to learn from his wisdom. The king's cancer diagnosis has reportedly made this desire more poignant, as he recognizes his own mortality and the limited time available to build these relationships. The geographical and emotional distance between the Sussex children and their royal grandfather has created a situation where, despite their official titles, Archie and Lilibet exist largely outside the practical reality of royal family life. Royal experts suggest they have been effectively removed from the royal family narrative, existing as title holders without meaningful participation in royal activities or relationships. This distance has been compounded by ongoing tensions between Prince Harry and the broader royal family, as well as security concerns that have prevented regular visits to the United Kingdom. The institutional challenges facing the Sussex children's royal status have been further complicated by reports about Prince William's future plans for the monarchy. Multiple sources suggest that Prince William intends to implement sweeping reforms when he becomes king, potentially stripping royal titles from all non-working members of the royal family. According to royal insider Tom Sykes, William plans to strip Prince Andrew, along with all other non-working royals, of their HRHs and princely titles when he ascends to the throne, with changes to be effected by an executive royal order known as Letters Patent ratified by Parliament in the early weeks of the reign of King William V. These reported plans would affect not only Prince Andrew, Princess Beatrice, and Princess Eugenie, but also Prince Harry, Prince Archie, and Princess Lilibet. The proposed changes reflect William's vision of a streamlined monarchy focused exclusively on working royals, drawing inspiration from similar reforms implemented by other European royal families, particularly the Danish monarchy, under Queen Margrethe II, who removed princely titles from some of her grandchildren in 2022. A friend of Prince William reportedly told the Daily Beast that he obviously isn't going to hire Archie and Lilibet, describing suggestions otherwise as trolling on the part of Harry and Meghan. The source added that the idea that somehow having a vestigial HRH as a baby later entitles you to be a working royal is beyond parody, even for them. This stark assessment suggests that regardless of their current titles, the Sussex children are unlikely to have any future role as working royals under William's reign. Royal editor Roya Nikah reported in the Sunday Times that under the next reign, roles for Archie and Lily as working royals are unlikely, as William continues his plan to streamline the monarchy further. This approach would concentrate royal duties among a smaller group of working royals, primarily Princess Anne and the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh in the near term, and William's own children as they mature. Interestingly, sources suggest that William plans to have his own children's titles informally parked until they become adults and can decide for themselves if they want to be full-time working royals or lead lives as private citizens. This approach would represent a significant departure from traditional practice, allowing even direct heirs to choose their level of royal involvement rather than having roles predetermined by birth order. The implications of these potential changes extend beyond mere ceremonial considerations to fundamental questions about the nature of modern monarchy and family relationships. For the Sussex family, the prospect of losing royal titles would represent a complete severance from the institutional framework that has defined their public identity since Harry's birth. The loss of HRH styles and princely titles would effectively reduce them to private citizens with Duke and Duchess titles, fundamentally altering their position in British society and their commercial value in international markets. For Meghan's lifestyle brand, recently renamed from American Riviera Orchard to As Ever, the implications could be particularly significant. The brand, which focuses on home goods, artisanal foods, and lifestyle content, has drawn heavily on Meghan's royal connections for its market positioning and celebrity endorsements. The loss of royal titles for her children could diminish the brand's association with royal sophistication and tradition, potentially affecting its commercial appeal and market positioning against established lifestyle authorities. The brand's evolution from American Riviera Orchard to As Ever reflects broader themes in the Sussex family's post-royal journey. Meghan explained that the original name limited her to things that were just manufactured and grown in the Santa Barbara area, while the new name represents her return to the lifestyle content she created before her royal marriage. This evolution suggests an ongoing process of redefining identity and commercial strategy in light of changing royal circumstances. The success of As Ever's initial product launch, which sold out within an hour of going on sale, demonstrates continued public interest in Meghan's royal connections. However, this interest has been built on the foundation of her status as a royal duchess and mother to royal children. Any future changes to these fundamental aspects of her identity could require significant adaptation of her commercial strategy and public positioning. The question of Archie and Lilibet's royal future also intersects with broader debates about the role of the monarchy in contemporary British society. William's reported plans for a streamlined monarchy reflect growing pressure for the institution to demonstrate value and relevance in an era of economic constraint and changing social attitudes toward hereditary privilege. By limiting royal titles and roles to working members of the family, the monarchy aims to present a more efficient and purposeful image while reducing public expenditure on non-essential royal activities. However, this institutional efficiency comes at the cost of family relationships and traditional concepts of royal kinship. The potential exclusion of Archie and Lilibet from royal status would represent a historic departure from the inclusive approach that has characterized the British monarchy for generations. Previous royal children, regardless of their likelihood of becoming working royals, have traditionally maintained their titles and formal connection to the institution throughout their lives. The Danish precedent that reportedly influences William's thinking offers both encouragement and caution. Queen Margret's decision to remove princely titles from some grandchildren generated significant family controversy and public criticism, despite the clear institutional logic behind the move. The Queen's son was reportedly fuming over the decision, claiming his children were being mistreated and hid out publicly, including in interviews. However, the Danish monarchy weathered this controversy, and the changes have been accepted as part of modernizing the institution. The personal dimension of these institutional changes cannot be overlooked. For King Charles, the potential future loss of his grandchildren's royal status represents a profound challenge to his role as both monarch and grandfather. Royal author Ingrid Seward notes that family has always been important to the king, and that it is a great sadness to him he doesn't see more of Archie and Lilibet. The king's cancer diagnosis has reportedly intensified his desire to maintain family connections, making any potential severance of formal relationships particularly poignant. Queen Camilla is reportedly understood to be a driving force behind his decision to ramp up efforts to see his other grandchildren, encouraging the king to send Lilibet a heartfelt gift and card for her birthday, and to consider ways of developing closer relationships despite the geographical distance. These efforts reflect the human cost of institutional decisions and the challenge of balancing personal relationships with royal responsibilities. The ultimate resolution of these questions will likely depend on several factors that remain uncertain. The continued estrangement between Prince William and Prince Harry appears to be a significant obstacle to any accommodation that would preserve the Sussex children's royal status. Sources suggest that William absolutely hates his brother Harry and will never, ever forgive Harry for what he has done. This level of personal animosity makes any compromise or special consideration for the Sussex children unlikely. The timing of these changes also remains uncertain, as they would require King Charles's death or abdication before William could implement his reported plans. While Charles continues his royal duties despite his cancer treatment, there is no indication that he plans to abdicate, meaning that Archie and Lilibet may retain their titles for many years to come. The evolution of public opinion about the monarchy and the Sussex family will also play a role in determining the feasibility and timing of any title changes. If public support for a streamlined monarchy grows, William may find it easier to implement his reported plans. Conversely, if the public develops sympathy for the Sussex children or criticism of excluding them from royal status, political considerations may influence the ultimate decisions. The international dimension of this question also cannot be ignored. As American-born children with dual citizenship, Archie and Lilibet represent a unique connection between the British monarchy and its most important international ally. Their exclusion from royal status could be seen as diminishing this symbolic relationship, though the practical implications would likely be minimal. For Archie and Lilibet themselves, these institutional questions will ultimately be secondary to their personal development and choices about their own identities. Growing up in California, largely disconnected from royal life and British culture, they may find that royal titles have little practical meaning in their daily lives. Their future decisions about whether to embrace or reject their royal heritage will likely be more influential than any institutional decisions made about their formal status. The story of Archie and Lilibet's royal titles thus represents a microcosm of the broader challenges facing the British monarchy in the 21st century. Balancing tradition with modernization, family relationships with institutional efficiency, and personal desires with public expectations remains an ongoing challenge that will likely define the monarchy for generations to come. Whether these young children ultimately retain their royal status or become private citizens will serve as a significant indicator of the direction and priorities of the monarchy under future leadership.